You are tuned into an interview entry of Getting Stuck the Way We Do. I'm Jared E. Robert Eyler is a professional yoga instructor, wellness coach, and recent TED Talk speaker. On top of all this, Robert is my cousin. From overcoming his decade-long addiction to stimulants to becoming the father of twins, Robert has endless anecdotes of looking inward and learning from his own inner dialogue. Throughout the interview, we talk about his various life transitions, topics from his TED Talk, and how we can learn from our own inner dialogues. Thank you for watching.
Today with me, I have my cousin, Robert Eyler, who's a professional yoga instructor and founder of Alchemy, a health, wellness, and fitness organization based in California. How are you doing today, Robert?
I'm doing well, Jared. How are you?
Doing well. Been a while since we talked. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. It has been quite a while.
Yeah. You've got a couple of twins now.
I do. Yeah, they're sleeping right behind me in the other room. They're 2 years old.
Awesome. Well, to get started with this, a little bit about this project that I've been working on is a personal research project, as I've been describing it, kind of looking into my own personal patterns of behavior, why I act the way I do, why I feel like I'm stuck. But the more research part comes from interviews like this, getting more points of view from people with different walks of life. And by the end of this, I'm going to compound these together in a series of videos talking about both this experience and what I've learned from it.
Awesome. Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to start with is, do you think anybody is incapable of getting unstuck from where they are?
Incapable? No, I don't. I think that's like a self-limiting belief.
Hmm.
I think everyone is capable, but people do come from different backgrounds. Like there are people with a lot more adversity in their lives than you and I have faced, which requires even more grit and even more dedication and intention, probably more than I've ever even known. But incapable, no, I think everyone there's a way out for everyone.
Hmm. And even if that is, clawing and scratching versus climbing gently, there is a path.
Yeah, oh, 100%. I mean, I just keep it real with you. Like we're two white privileged males, right? Like having this conversation. Like
Yeah.
we've had it a lot differently than other people have growing up. We're blessed to grow up in a family that loves us,
Hmm.
and we're blessed to go to college and all of these amazing things. And it's super privileged. So it's really important to keep that in mind as we navigate, you know?
Yeah. Not to pull too far off topic already, but I do appreciate you bringing that up, especially in the cultural climate of the United States right now, with the amount of um, racial profiling and stereotyping we're seeing across the country from government agents, i.e., ICE. It's just I talk about it with my friends, and fiction feels more real than reality has since the start of this year.
Oh, 100%. It's insane. And growing up, I never really looked at it that way,
Mm,
because that's all I knew, right? So like we would
mm,
all sneak into the movies, and a lot of my friends are African American, and I'll get in and I'm fine, and they get caught, and I'm like, well, you guys just aren't sneaky enough. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of profiling going on, and
mm.
yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, we can navigate anywhere you want from here.
The name of your enterprise is Alchemy. I believe that says something both about yourself and what the enterprise stands for. What is your personal philosophy on change?
Yeah, it's Alchemy SD, and my mission is really to educate, elevate, and liberate the body and mind of the masses through teaching, through speaking, through coaching. I think change is important. I think it's important for us to go through struggle. I could tell you the most hardest things I've ever gone through in my life are what propelled me and into where I'm at now, and were my greatest teachers, my greatest lessons, turning like pain into purpose or struggle into strength. I think change is so important, and many of us don't like change. Look at
Mm,
AI. Like I talk to so many people, and I hate AI, and I don't think it's a good or a bad thing. It just is. It's
mm,
happening. So you either learn about it or not. But I think change is important. They say, I forget who quoted, but he said like the only two certain things in this life are like what do you say? Oh, no, no, that's not the right quote. But change happens with everyone.
Yeah. You had a TED Talk published earlier this week.
I did,
That
yes.
was beautiful, by the way. I very much so
Oh,
enjoyed watching that.
thank you. Thank you.
Within that, you share your struggles of feeling connection throughout your life. When were you able to name that feeling for what it is?
Um, Honestly, when I started practicing a lot of yoga and meditation, I really wasn't aware of much around me other than, what impacted me. I thought, the drugs, the stimulants were just having fun. I didn't think it was a bigger problem
Hmm.
until I started to really get still and go inside and wonder why I'm so, antsy or can't sit still or can't be with my thoughts. And then it just brought me down this journey. But I think being able to sit in stillness
Hmm.
um, is difficult. It's one of the hardest things we can do. But I think that's what led me to understand that like this change is needed and that it's possible.
What happened once you were able to name that feeling?
It got harder. It got even harder once it's almost like ignorance is bliss, like if I
Mm,
wasn't aware of it, then I just go on living a life going blind, or moving around the earth blind. But once I was aware, I was like, okay, now since I'm aware of this stuff, it's time to go and fix it and do the work. And the work is where it got really difficult, because it's hard to just move around when you know something needs to change and you're not doing it.
right. It's like you said, ignorance is bliss. It was before you were able to name the feeling, it was just your way of living. But once you were able to name it, you were aware of it. You were aware of maybe the mechanisms that built up to where you were, or um, just the struggles you were going through had more weight and gravity to them now that you could name the problems behind them.
Mhm. Oh, 100%. Yeah. And then now there's a solution, whereas before I didn't even think there was a problem. But
Mm,
once you find the problem, then you look for the solution. And typically it's most of the time it's within ourselves.
yeah.
It's not found in this external thing. It's pretty much found within ourselves and doing the self-work, you
Mm.
know.
When you say the answer is found within ourselves, yes, this could be very person by person, case by case, but do you think that information within ourselves is more inherent to our existence, or it's something we find within ourselves through working on it?
Yeah, I think it is inside. They say like go with your gut. Like your gut, pretty much if I ask you a question, you're gonna know the answer. You may then second guess yourself and go through
Mm,
all these different scenarios, but most likely the first answer you thought of is probably the one that you want to go with. I think we look for all these, I did it, right? All these meditation retreats and apps and wellness programs and all this stuff, but because
mhm.
we try and fix ourselves, but there's no fixing. I feel like we're inherently good. It's just a matter of doing the work and letting go of the baggage that we don't need. There's a book out there called, what is it? It's like Unlearning,
Mhm.
essentially, or yeah, unlearning. Like we come out of the womb, like these boys behind me, oh my gosh, they're like bright rays of light. But what happens when babies get older and we put our own neuroses and our own judgment on top of them, and then they start developing the ego, and then you got to unlearn all that and go back to when you're two. So I think it's really just a process of unlearning all that.
Unlearning the social conditioning,
Mhm.
the internal dialogue that we might tell ourselves about ourselves and our existence.
Yeah,
Mm.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, to uh, be a bit candid, at this point in my project, the current title is Getting Stuck the Way We Do. And everything I've created up to this point has, led off with that, whether it's been other interviews or short vlogs I've recorded, everything has been created under that name so far. And here I am. I want to say there's 6 weeks or so left in my semester, and I'm thinking, man, that name is really not conducive to what I'm trying to put out here. That's really just my own. negative self-talk feeding back into itself and now being the figurehead of what I'm trying to do here. But I can't feel like I can change it at this point.
Yeah. You can always change it.
I
It's just a matter of putting in
true.
the well, whatever that entails.
Yeah,
Like we can all we always we have that decision and that power to make change. It's just
right.
it comes with its own set of circumstances and repercussions and yeah.
But at the same time, I almost feel like I shouldn't change it because it's a very telling piece of where I was at the start of the semester, at the start of this year, versus um, how I've progressed up to this point and what I've done.
Yeah, it's a part of your journey. It's like where
Mm,
you started and where you finished, and now you can tell that story, right?
right. Even if this journey is just focusing on the time span of 5 months or so, being from January to May with a school semester.
Yeah, so true.
How would you define addiction based on your lived experiences?
Yeah. Um, and this isn't my definition. It's Andrew Huberman had said it, but he had said it's the progressive narrowing of what makes you happy. Less and
Mm.
less things make you happy until the only thing that makes you happy is the substance or whatever you're addicted to. Or, this one lady was like, she's addicted to romance novels. Like it could be anything, but yeah, it's the progressive narrowing of what makes you happy until basically only one thing does. And then you need more and more and more of it.
Mm. Upping the ante constantly.
Yeah,
Mm.
for sure.
So kind of connected to that, jumping a bit, but what does connection mean in a modern world that is constantly connected, where where most everyone is in some form or way addicted to the glowing rectangle?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of connecting to the right things. Like we are more connected than ever. Like I said in the TED Talk, like
Hmm
3 out of 4 people on this earth, including babies, which is weird, but 3 out of 4 humans, which is probably even more right because babies don't go online, are online, which is wild. So we're technologically more connected than ever, yet we're like socially more disconnected than
hmm
ever. I think it's a matter of just kind of stepping back and see what fills your cup, whether it's being with family or friends. But I do think we've evolved to be social creatures and we've evolved to connect with other people like face to face. That's why COVID was so hard for so many because it kind of took that facet out of it.
What do you have to say in the sense of we're always constantly connected through our phones and that's an addiction in its own right. What if someone feels like they can't fill their cup from anything else? Then
Mm,
what's right in front of them?
yeah, that's the addiction. But it's taking a step back and getting still and like, wait, is this serving me? Like, how do I feel
Mm,
doing this, whether it's scrolling or even, but maybe they are connecting and maybe they are on FaceTime or connecting with family, then great. But if it doesn't feel good or you leave it feeling like what just happened, then I think it's time to get still and find those answers elsewhere. But change is hard, dude. Like growth is hard. You gotta like anything, like building muscles in the gym, like it takes discomfort in order to get there. And I think it's the same thing with any type of habit change
mm.
or formation of a habit.
It's having that initial piece of awareness to even just for 5 seconds pull yourself out of that tunnel vision.
100%. I say a lot like you want to tap into your 5 senses, like when you're anxious or overwhelmed or feeling addicted, like stop what you're doing and name something you can see, something you can touch, something you
Mm-hmm.
can smell, taste, hear, and then I'll go back and be like, were you still thinking of that thing I told you to think about? And they're like, no. That's because you can't get lost in your thoughts when you're in the present. That's why nature is so cool. Being
Mm,
outside is so cool because it grounds you down into the present, kind of teleports you out of your thinking brain and like into your body.
mm. Would you say that discipline is a part of it?
100%. I think Jocko Willing, I think that's his name. He said, like, basically, discipline is freedom. People think
Mm,
like, oh, but I find more discipline, I don't feel free. But like, no, when you're disciplined like that, you you create more freedom in your life, right? Like if you're disciplined to wake up at 4 a.m., now you have the rest of the morning to do what you want. You know, if you're disciplined to work out or exercise, now you have the rest of your life because you're healthier. So I think discipline is huge. My life is predicated off of that for sure. Like, yeah, I'd rather just go on Netflix every night and spend 3 or 4 hours and do that. But how am I going to feel after? I like to ask myself, like, what's my future self going to think of this decision right now? And like, if they're like,
Mm.
no, then, like that's why I try and prep my stuff the night before. And even when I'm eating, like, is my future self gonna feel good or grateful that I just ate this or consumed this or watched this or did this or that? That's a good way to kind of check and audit yourself.
So if I'm hearing you, it's like a technique for discipline for you is being so in the present to reflect and acknowledge how this decision right now will make you feel an hour from now, a day from now, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And on the flip side, like, yeah, like eat those hot Cheetos, like have that extra piece of cake. And when you do it, like do it with intention. I think
Mm,
so many people do it and then they shame themselves and they have this negative self-talk. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done this. And then it just perpetuates and you do it more and more because you have this negative kind of connotation or self-worth about yourself. Like, own it and then move on. That was like with my addiction. Like I was like, okay, this is what I did. Now let me move forward. Like, I relapsed like more than 50 times and I kept relapsing because I kept getting down on myself versus like, okay, this happened. Let me move forward. And it's like takes such a big mental load off when you can tap into that mindset.
mm. So it's a piece of, sure, you might do something that um, would be regrettable. Let's say the slice of cake. You might have a piece of cake and then later feel, oh, maybe I shouldn't have eaten that, but I wanted to eat it then versus being like, oh, I should have eaten that. I'm such a slob. I'm this, that, and the other thing. It's acknowledging maybe I feel bad about eating it now, but I wanted to eat it earlier. And there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong
or
with that.
just acknowledge that because like thoughts are gonna happen, man. Like there's a meditation teacher, my meditation teacher, Jack Kornfield, he said uh, the salivary gland secretes saliva like the mind secretes thoughts, essentially. Like
I
it's
like
just gonna
that.
happen.
I
So you
like
might
that.
have those thoughts, but like come back to like, no, I ate it with intention and but this is what it is and let me move forward. I think
Hmm.
we tend to just get so carried away in our thoughts, man. Like that incessant mind chatter. And that's what meditation does. It pulls you out of that thinking brain and like brings you into your body. I sat on a 12-day silent meditation retreat, meditate for like 12 hours a day. And they
Hmm.
just kept go back to the body, come back to the body, come back to the body. So you have these thoughts, but then you're like, well, where am I feeling that in my body? Like, oh, it's a tight chest or my neck. And you start realizing like these thoughts are nothing, dude. They're fake. They're imaginary. Like they don't exist. What exists is like the feeling. And then you can bring your focus into that feeling. And then the half-life of that emotion or feeling, like it dissipates. It's like moments, maybe minutes, definitely not hours, you know?
The thoughts come and go like the wind, but they're not nearly as real as the wind.
Yeah, exactly. I like
Hmm.
the like clouds in the sky, right? You notice them and then they pass. Like I think we judge ourselves for the thoughts that we have, but like dude, especially after having kids, like the thoughts that I have, oh like what is happening? But they're not real. It just happens and you got to just be able to like move through them, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I remember some months ago, my dad had mentioned to me about this retreat that you did. So you meditated for 12 hours straight for several days.
Not straight. We would do like
Okay.
2 or 3 hours at a time, but like the first 3 days, they literally the only instruction was focus on this triangle area, like the rings around your nostrils and your upper lip. That's it for
Hmm.
3 days, dude. 36 hours of just focusing on that little area. And what they're trying to do is train your mind to learn how to concentrate because we're so fragmented as a world, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and then we wouldn't eat anything past 5. You'd have like fruit at 5 and that's it because they want your stomach kind of not digesting so that you're deeper into the meditation. Yeah, it
Right.
sucked, dude. It was the hardest thing I've ever done for sure. It was
Yeah.
horrible. But the clarity that I got coming off of it was like, whoa.
Would you
It's
do it again?
Oh, 100%. I do. It's harder now with, a wife and kids and
Sure.
these jobs and stuff, but 100% I would do it again. I actually went back and I served, so I basically helped clean dishes for the people that were sitting on
That
the
we're doing
retreat.
the meditations.
So I still did
Hmm.
like 3 hours a day, which isn't nearly as the other one. That
Yeah.
was actually even harder because I'm completely selfless. I'm doing this for them versus for me. Like I'm cleaning
Right.
these dishes and yeah,
Mm.
so that was its own journey, but yeah, I would definitely go back.
In the TED Talk, you shared how substances felt like something that made connection feel attainable. How do you recognize now when something is creating connection genuinely versus just the feeling or illusion of it?
Mm. The first thing that comes to mind is like, am I more interested in how I look in this situation, this conversation, how I feel, or am I more interested than in the other person? There's a quote out there that says, "Be more interested than interesting." And I think when I was on the
Mm,
stimulants, it was at the end of the day, it was all about me. It was how am I going to look in this situation? Um, promoting myself out there. And as I got off of them, I was like, no, this is about this whole game, this whole life is about helping other people. And
mm,
the more people we help, the better we feel, right? It's like you
yeah.
don't think that in the way, like, no, this is because this is my food, this is my money, this is my like I'm doing all this
It's
for
like
me.
I'm the one who's hungry.
Yeah, but like
Mm,
especially after having kids and like my wife helps with the kids, so I provide a majority and like being able to do that, I'm like, whoa, like this is what it's about. It's not the other way because when we
mm,
try and like grab, grab, grab and just for us like that energy is just it's sticky and it doesn't feel good.
mm.
Doesn't help with sleep.
So, not to say we can't try to um, bolster ourselves if we think we're dull or uninteresting, but when it comes to creating, finding connection, what you look for is um, in personal intrigue in the other person.
Or like, how can I help this person?
Mm,
Like I do a lot of networking now on the finance
hmm
side of things, and all these people coming to these networking events. Like, what can I get out of it? Like, let me sell you my business. Like, no, no, no. Like, let me learn about you. How can I help you? And then
mm,
there's just kind of like this law of reciprocity that like if you give back, like you give love, the love might not come back from that person, but it's going to come back from someone back to you. So the more you give, just trusting that it's going to come back. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. But understanding that kind of uh, that law of reciprocity, I think, has helped a ton.
paying it forward universally.
Yeah, and without a agenda, just
Mm.
like it's just because it's the right thing to do.
Right. It's doing it because you want to and not coming from it of like, oh, I'm gonna do this good thing for someone else so that then someone down the line will pay it forward back to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's just doing it to do it. And on
Mm.
the flip side, like making sure that your cup is filled first. Because my wife and I are like the opposite. Like I had struggled with addiction, so I'm like self-care, self-care, self-care. And in doing that for so long, also became selfish because it was
Mm.
like, no, I need to get up early. No, I need to work out. No, you need to watch the kids so I can do this, 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 because I'm so routine and it's a obsessive compulsive disorder. And
Mm.
she's very selfless, where she's like always wanting to help, doing whatever she can for the kids, like giving her full self. And I got to be like sometimes like, babe, I got the kids, like go do whatever you want to do. So we kind of complement each other in that way. But I think it's like the yin and the yang. Like you got to have both of them in order to work through it. And I heard
Mm.
someone the other day, like, there's no balance in life. Like that's not a thing. He's like, you're always balancing, but there's no balance. Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? There's no balance, there's balancing.
I like that. I hear a lot about like work-life balance, and you hear them
Mm.
say that shit all the time. I don't know if I can cuss, sorry.
No, go for
And
it.
and I don't really like that because it's like, okay, so I'm gonna like go to the park with my kids and then also take a work call because I'm balancing both. Like, no, I like before I did a presentation a couple months ago, I thought of work-life presence. Like whatever you're doing, just be present. If you're with
Mm.
your kids, with your family, if you're having this conversation, like have this conversation. And then when you're working, then work. But like we live in this world where like everything is vying for our attention. Like there's an attention
Economy.
economy. Yeah,
Hmm
exactly. Like if you're not paying for a service like that, you are what that service is selling,
If something
So
is free, you're the product.
yeah, Zoom's doing
Yep.
something right now. Um,
Right.
But yeah, so that's helped a lot too, especially being able to like switch from one thing to the next. I think being able to like quickly transition will helps a ton.
Mm. It's realizing that it's not a black and white balance. You're just sliding on the grayscale of life.
Hmm.
From this thing, from this point on the gradient to this point on the gradient, but it's all the gradient.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Uh, to get a bit raw with my next question.
let's do it.
For years, I have found myself at odds with impulses and dopamine chasing versus thoughts of things I want to do and learn. How can we rise above what feels like an internal war?
Stillness. I go back to that, man, so much because I hear you. Like I would go from I would like coming off Adderall, I would get off it, and then that whole next weekend I would do a bunch of coke, and it like I
Mm.
couldn't find that balance. And it wasn't until I like got still and like, okay, so now I'm in the addiction and I feel it, and I want to call my guy, and I just sit with it, and I'm like, whoa, there's like a like you just said, there's this war going on inside of me, but like I don't move. I'm just and then you sit with it long enough, 5 minutes, and it passes. And you're like, oh, and if you do that one time, you teach yourself like, oh, this is possible to like allow it to come up and out versus like um acting on impulse all the time. I used to write down on a sticky note, like, because I would take Adderall where I work, so I'd write down, okay, you're gonna feel depressed, anxious, regret, like sad. You're not gonna be able to sleep tonight. I write it all on a sticky note and I put it on my computer. And so anytime I wanted to take those pills, I would look like, you're gonna feel this way when you're done. Just FYI. So just
Mm.
having that constant reminder in place has helped a ton. But the stillness is huge, man. Even now, like it's almost in a way like my meditations are scheduled. I'm like, okay, now I got to go over here and I got to go over here. I'm gonna meditate. So I'm still doing versus being.
Mm.
But yeah, at the end of the day, we're not human doings, we're human beings. So it's important to just be. Yeah.
It's important to not only have that, like I said earlier, awareness to create that stillness for yourself in the moment, but it's also the self-compassion to get up again when maybe you did fall back in the cycle of like, oh, I didn't pause myself this time. I just went through with the impulse.
That's huge, dude. That's it right there. Because if you don't have that compassion and you beat yourself up, then that self-worth goes to shit, and then you're just gonna keep doing it because it perpetuates.
Mm,
But yeah, like okay, I did this and let me get back up and I'm gonna try again tomorrow. My one of my best friends is a therapist and I'll never forget like every time I would relapse, I'd be like on the phone with him in my car just crying. He'd be like, you starting again tomorrow. I would be go like 3 months and relapse. He'd be like starting again tomorrow. And that's life, man. Like I haven't drank in 2 years. Oh,
mhm,
oh, yeah, 2.5 years almost. And like I may at some point. But again, it's just a process. I think, especially coming from OCD, it's like I need these streaks of like I
mm,
need to be this long. But like, why are we even keeping track of how long it's been since we've done it? Is that just so you can tell the person next time how long it's been after you relapse? Yeah, but I was
right.
2 years before. So yeah, it's that compassion I think is huge of just forgiving yourself and changing that self-talk.
Mm. You mentioned a little bit ago about um, when talking the yin and yang with you and your wife, your extreme focus on self-care. What did that look like when you first started to care for yourself?
Yeah, I remember I was living in Huntington Beach and we had this nice little like pond outside and started reading these books like the Untethered Soul and Quantum Success and these spiritual books, and I'd come out and I'd meditate, and once I was able to find that stillness, and once I felt like okay, I feel this compulsiveness come up, I let it arise, it goes away, like oh, there's something to this. So that was huge, and also like the people I hung around, like people I hung around at the time were not conducive to the person that I wanted to be. To be
Mm,
honest, there were a lot of drugs around the house, and I was trying to get off of them, and it just wasn't a good situation. So there's something out there that says like you're the average of like the 5 people you hang around. Um,
mm,
so I had to really like look at like who I'm hanging around and basically like tap into like audit my energy. Like my whole thing was like, how could I create, maintain, and sustain like natural energy without the stimulants? So it was like hydrating and eating the right food and getting exercise and going out into nature and the people I hung around. And that's what my this whole business, this whole TED thing, like that's all it was created from is like, how can I do this naturally? And once I
I,
found these ways, I just doubled down on this stuff.
and by naturally, you just mean without
Without the stimulants, yeah.
without
So
any
cold
chemicals.
plunge, meditation, a gratitude practice, the hydration, food, exercise. Like, dude, my shit is dialed in, and it's also it's a lot. I wake up, I'm like, I got so much shit to do.
Yeah.
For me to get to baseline, like I wake up 90 minutes before these kids wake up. Like if they wake up at 7:30, I'm up at 6 at the latest because
Mm,
I need those 90 minutes to take care of me so that I can take care of them, you
mm.
know? Otherwise, I'm not my best self with them, and I come in and I'm short with them or I'm impatient. Yeah.
This is more my own curiosity than anything else, so if it's too personal,
No, you're
don't
good.
be afraid to
Nothing
say
is.
no. What is that 90-minute routine?
Yeah, so I'll wake up. I do like oil pulling. I did a yoga retreat in Jamaica once, and they had coconut oil that
Hmm.
they would basically put in their mouth, and we switched it around for a few minutes, spit it out, not in the sink because it hardens so much to
Yeah.
do it in the trash can. And then I have like a tongue scraper, so it gets all that
Hmm.
residue off the tongue. I'll go down, I'll write down three things I'm grateful for and why I'm grateful for those things. I'm actually in a gratitude group now with some of my best friends where we'll send it, they'll text it, and I'll write it down and send
Hmm.
it to them. And I meditate for specific, but it's 23 minutes. It's just a program I did a while ago.
Hmm.
And then I do some like 10 minutes of like some core, just a little bit of movement. And I get into the cold plunge, and then I go exercise. Yeah. And so the cold plunge, stop there. That's about 80 minutes.
Hmm.
And then if I don't have to watch them or anything, like if it's a regular weekday, then I'll go work out for like an hour and a half. But 90 minutes minimum is what is what I need. That's like an off day, I guess
Yeah.
you could call it. Yeah, and then if I'm in the cold plunge and it's an off day, it's like 108 push-ups, 108 squats, just because I warm up. Because when I'm in that plunge, when I get out, like I want to move my body, so I'm
Yeah,
so cold.
you
So
want to get
like,
warm.
yeah, for sure. So it feels good to do that. Um, yeah, and so that's 90 minutes minimum on like an off day, but typically, yeah, it's closer to three. But that's extreme, man. Like I do these talks and I don't bring that up a ton because people hear it and they're like, dude, that's not me. Like either
Right.
I don't have that time or I'm not that like that's a lot. So I tell people like just pick one thing, man. Like if you start your day with 12 ounces of water, a little bit of sea salt and some lemon. Like I do that every morning and that starts my day off right. Or three things you're grateful for. Just start with that. And then
Mm,
you start to habit stack as you get comfortable doing that stuff. But this all didn't happen overnight, like I've
right.
been doing this shit for like 15 years. It's taken time to yeah, solidify.
So more on your morning routine. To me, that sounds like a accessible way to start building discipline. Not the whole routine, but like your suggestion of just take one of those things.
Mhm.
That sounds like a way to begin building discipline, even if it's not necessarily uh pointed in any specific direction.
For sure. No, I agree. And to be honest, man, it's also like low-key addiction. If you think about it, like I've learned that like you don't really eliminate addiction. You just kind of trade it for another thing. And like
Hmm.
I'll be honest with you, like I am addicted to exercise. Like my wife, I move my body every single day. Like I have to, or else I get weird. I
Hmm.
get anxious, I get sad, I get depressed, or the withdrawal symptoms, but it's a lot healthier than what I was doing before. And I'm also learning that like I don't need to be in the gym for 2 hours. Like I put my boys on my back and do push-ups and squats and like they love it and they're just getting heavier, so I'm just getting stronger. So finding ways to do that, or going outside, they'll scooter and I'll just run with them. So
Hmm.
like finding accessible ways to move my body to where it's not having this like negative impact on my family.
I do think it's interesting you use the word addiction in this, though. I've taken a pharmacology class before that was taught by a professor who actively had cancer curing drugs in trial. And one thing that we talked about early on in that class is how addiction is everywhere. Although it sounded like a bit of a silly example, the professor said we're all addicted to water. We can't live without it, quite literally. So I just want to kind of air out that I feel like even as a global society, we have such a negative view of the word addiction. It's very charged,
Mhm.
even if it's something that could be for the positive, like your workout addiction.
Yeah. But like I don't one thing with that is like I need water to survive. Like working, I don't need 3 hours in the gym every day to survive. Maybe some
Right,
walking to survive. But no, I totally hear what you're saying. And it's just a matter of how we kind of bastardize things and take them to the extremes.
right. And, taking that and kind of um, going back to earlier in this conversation, it's the extreme lengths that I feel like so many of us go to reinforce negative self-talk. It's almost like we as humans are gluttons for pain. So if we can't find it from an external source, we put it onto ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
You've found a way through, as you've talked about, through yoga, a way to bettering yourself through yoga. For someone who hasn't found that thing yet, whether it be yoga or otherwise, where do you suggest they start looking?
Inside. Um, Yeah, I mean, what do you enjoy doing? And then do more of it. Get curious. I think curiosity is super important. Um, I forget her name, but she said there's two types of people. There's like a jackhammer and a hummingbird. And a hummingbird might be curious in a bunch of different stuff and come over here and over here and over here. And there's jackhammers that are like, this is what I'm doing. This is my purpose. This is what I'm here for. There's both types of people. You don't have to be one or the other. I think people hear this and like, well, there's not one thing that I'm super passionate about, but there might be 10 things that they're interested in, and go do those things. Make time for those things. Sign up for those things. Even when I take yoga classes, I'll sign up the night before because if I don't code the next morning, I get charged a fee. So like, yeah, put your money where your mouth is here. Yeah, I would just say just keep doing the things that you're curious about, even if it sounds silly. Like I know a guy, he's into like woodworking and like making chairs, and that's just his thing. So find your thing.
That hummingbird and jackhammer thing analogy is speaking to me personally because a big motivation for this project in the first place is I feel like I'm kind of aimless in what am I passionate about? So even if I just have fleeting isn't the right word, but vague curiosity in something over here, I'll I've caught myself stopping myself from going and exploring into those things because it's like, well, I don't have that much interest in it. Why would I spend time to go and do this?
Yeah, no, even if it's a slight interest, go do it. I put the podcast in the chat group. You can't open it if you don't have Spotify. I can give you
No,
the
I have
app.
Spotify.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, it's huge. And it's just taking the time to do it. And it sounds like, right, your thoughts talked you out of it. Like we
Yeah.
got to make sure we're like, what do we feel like doing? So I think when you tap into the feeling, that's the most important thing.
So a big philosophy for yourself is just, or I guess part of what you teach is just learning to be still, learning to sit with ourselves and all the uncomfortable thoughts, feelings, emotions that come with that. There's the I don't mean to diminish it, but there's the platitude of failure is the biggest teacher.
Mhm.
Um, it almost sounds like, from your perspective, right up there with failure is discomfort.
Yep. Oh, for sure. And I think discomfort is important to tap into, like whenever we can. I once heard they said FAIL stands for frequent adventures in learning. A teacher or a student
Hmm.
told me that. She is a teacher, right? She taught me that. But I love that because like wherever you're fearful, like I think that fear is a compass like pointing you in the direction that you should be headed. Like I'm teaching my kids how to like jump off the bench and I could see them like like they're
Hmm.
fearful. I'm like, that's you want to feel that. And then when you overcome it and you jump off, you're like, oh, you get this like rush of, Mother Nature doing what she does to reward you for overcoming that
Hmm.
fear. But I think it's important to fail early, fail often, because then you know what doesn't work, and now you can do something that does.
So you said that fear is guiding star towards what we should be going to, but it's driving us away from it because we're uncomfortable with it for whatever reason.
Exactly. Yeah. But the first step is awareness, right? Once you get still and you see like this is just fear. And once you get on the other side of that, then it's free, man. Yeah.
Hmm. Why do you say it's um just fear? Like, yes, okay, it's just a thought, but fear is one of the most primal things in the animal kingdom.
Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah, in ways like it's gonna protect you. Like I don't know if you're familiar with Half Dome, the hike in Yosemite, but like I hiked
mhm,
that and that had some fear because like it's probably good that I to protect me. But a lot of times if you just have fear of public speaking, like yeah, it's primal, but like you're not gonna die
mm,
after public speaking. So that's like fear being used in or kind of like a malfunctioning of our evolution of
mm.
like we feel that way because we think we're going to get like ousted by our tribe and we're going to go we that's where that comes from of
So
like being excluded from our tribe.
it's being able to differentiate whether in the scenario the fear is genuinely telling us don't do it or just making us get in our own heads.
Yeah. Yeah. Or listen to it and see like, okay, well, why am I fearful? And write down those reasons and do these
Mm,
have validity and what's the weight of these versus the weight of actually doing it? You
mm.
know? Yeah.
I've had an on and off meditation practice for years. Like, I fall off the wagon. It happens. I get back on. But for those that might be watching who've never even touched meditation, hardly ever even heard of it, how would you suggest they start?
Well, there are a lot of apps that you can start with. There's
Hmm.
a Calm app. I love the Calm app. I use that before bed. But even just sitting still for a minute and just watching your breath go in and out, feeling it going, pay attention to what's happening, your belly rising and falling, or the feel of the air or the rings around your nostrils. Just sit for a minute. And that's it, man. It's just non-judgmental, present moment awareness. You're just paying attention to the breath. If the mind wanders, you gently bring it right back, you know?
It's not about
But
turning the thoughts off.
no, there's no way you're turning those thoughts off.
That
Let's
was
just
that was a
enlighten
huge
me.
misconception I had when I was first beginning.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
tried
like
to turn them
60,000
off.
thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts to turn off.
Really?
Almost, basically. Yeah.
Crazy. To wrap us up here, what's something that you're still working on yourself?
Balancing, balancing the home life with my boys and my wife with the professional stuff, especially after
Hmm.
the TED thing. Things are kind of starting to go quickly here, and it's super fun and enjoyable. But I got to remember why I do it. So just finding the that balancing when it comes to my time, right? Like how am I spending my time with whether it's at work or the work with my family, because that's my most important work is my work with my family. So it's kind of keeping that in perspective. Yeah. Of
Beautiful. Well, thank you for your time, Robert.
course, Jared, thank you.
Thanks again for your time, cousin. I hope I get to meet your twins before too long. Robert Eyler is owner of health and wellness enterprise AlchemySD, licensed yoga instructor, and recently a first-time TED Talk speaker. You can find and learn more about him at alchemysd.com. I'm Jared E., and we've just learned more ways to get unstuck. Thank you for watching.